Thanks for being here. Tonight we're going to talk about how to create a fantasy football league and then how to conduct and participate in a fantasy football draft. Right. The reason we want to do this is because fantasy football enhances the NFL experience. Fantasy football has been around for quite a while, but with the spreading of the internet, it's become a lot more prevalent than it was, say, 20, 30 years ago. There's two ways to do a fantasy football draft, one of which is a live draft, which we'll get into here in a moment, but with that you'll need a fantasy board and you'll need people there to draft with. Another way to do it is online. There's two ways to do it online. You can do it with your friends or with perfect strangers. You can have usually 8 to 14 people for a fantasy football league. If you go online, what you'll need to do is follow the instructions that whatever host site, whatever they have for a policy, you'll need to read up on their policies and enforce those rules. Usually you can find a place like Yahoo Sports, CBSSports.com, or NFL.com, lots of other spin-off websites that will give you access to fantasy football leagues. Once you have signed up, created the league, what you need to do is if you're going to do it with people that you know, you'll need to elect a commissioner so that he can go in and put the rules that you're going to have. This speech is not going to be about the rules or the history of fantasy football, it's just going to be how to set it up. So once you've designated a commissioner, he can go in and set up all the rules that you're going to want to have, and then establish 8 to 14 players and whatever else that you need to do to get the ball rolling. But once you've established those things and gotten the ball rolling, what you're going to want to do is get a strategy of how you want to pick the players you're going to pick. Fantasy football essentially is you become the team owner. You get to pretend that you own an NFL football team, and then you get to go through the draft process and grab the players that either you like or the ones that you feel are going to help you progress furthest through the NFL season. Now, online, when you do this draft, if say you're doing it with total strangers, what will happen is the computer will randomly pick a draft order. Okay, so what will happen is you will want to adjust your strategy, adjust it to whatever draft order you've been given. Then you'll go through, and 1 through 8 to 14, you'll pick your players that you want. They'll go in reverse order, and you'll get the draft order you want. Now, if you're going to do it with your friends, you can do the exact same way that you would do it with strangers, except for you can do an exclusive league online. And with that exclusive league, you'll be able to just sign up your own friends in that forum, and you guys will be able to do the way you want to do it. But moving on to the live draft, what we have going on here is what you'll want to do is get you some sort of fantasy board to keep track of how you're going to do the draft. What you'll normally do is put the names of the participants here, and then the names of the participants here, and you can see that the board is already numbered for the draft rounds. Most, like I said here, you can see that it went from 1 to 10 people. Now, like I said earlier, it goes from 8 to 14, so we're going to just ignore the 11 to 14 here because this league obviously only had 10. It has 18 rounds that this league here did, so what you'll want to do is in each one, so your number 1 pick, you'll get your first pick, and then each participant in the league will take their pick as well, all the way throughout the draft. Once you get to the last person, the league is going to reverse itself. It's going to go from number 10 back down to number 1. So what you're essentially looking at is about 11 picks between picks. Once you've gone through the draft, essentially picking all the players that you want, what you're going to need to have, even in the live round, is a commissioner who's going to be able to log into the website that you've established as your own, so that you can put the players in once they've been picked. Your commissioner will log in, he'll set the rules just like they would on an online draft, and then they will put in the players that were drafted in the order that they were drafted on. The purpose of having this where you can do it online like this is so that the players that are participating in the league can access the league from home. This is one of the greatest things about having the internet, is that you can access this stuff from your house and you don't always have to be together for the games. So you essentially can log on the day before the game, set your lineup, and from your lineup, continue forward like that. The purpose of the NFL Fantasy Draft, this definitely helps out when the games are on. So what will happen is as the game is on, individual players instead of teams will stand out and get points. Those points will be attributed to the person who drafted. So essentially what you've done is created your own team, and then that team will go on. And after a regular season, which will follow through in the NFL season, you'll also have playoffs and everything else, which essentially boils down to a championship. That's how you start a fantasy league. That's how you do a fantasy draft. That's how you get through a fantasy season. And after the fantasy season is over, you will get a fantasy champion. Thank you.